Hello and welcome back to the last Hatchetman chassis variant series video. We may or may not have a Hebe meowing in the background due to the time of recording this one, so if you do hear a cat, don't be afraid, unless you are deeply afraid of cats or the bro making bad cat noises. So here we are with the Hatchetman 7R. This is a bit of a weird one, but I on one hand understand the choice to add this version in. On the other, some are still going to question why the Hatchman's even in the game. Cat number one. So the 7R, right off the bat, all of its weapons are in the right arm, which means it's very much a feast or famine machine. You're either going to do really, really well, or you're just going to have a round where your arm gets blown off very early in the fight, and you are completely defenseless. You do have a whacking great hatchet in your left hand, but you can't use it. So most people will say, again, quite rightly, why is the Hatchman in the game if I can't, you know, hatchet things? Also, bullshit that my legs got damaged walking off a small hill. Anyway, it's very much that. Its default build is 6 medium lasers and a single medium pulse laser. It's supposed to have a medium X pulse laser, but that's tech that isn't currently in MWO. It might appear in the future. I know the custodians of MWO currently, the skeleton crew running the game for PGI, are still actively modifying bits and pieces, still trying to add new stuff, so I wouldn't be surprised if new equipment does turn up, but at the moment this is strictly non-canonical in that sense. It's missing a few other things. It's also supposed to have improved actuators, which essentially allowed the pilot to get a bonus to targeting when they were firing their weapons, so it made the right arm more deadly in the sense because they hit more often than normal. It's kind of like another version of a targeting computer, but again, it's not really a piece of tech that you need to worry about in MWO, but there's weird little bits. It was made during the Republic of the Sphere time, so it's in that Dark Ages period as well, where the mech came out. It swaps the hatchet over to the left hand rather than keeping it in the right. There's someone stood behind me and they won't fucking move. So I originally thought this round was going to be just the worst, because, you know, teammates that walk into the back of you that then don't realise that you've stopped and they just keep walking into the back of you because the, I don't know, brain fart or something. But yeah, it's one of those things, you really do have to constantly be aware of your positioning. You always have to make sure that you've got a torso twisted the right way, use your left side to absorb hits. You don't have to worry, you don't have an XL engine, you do have a light engine by default. You've got a pretty decent amount of heat dissipation as well. It's got 12 double heat sinks, and it's also got ferrofibrous armor by default. It's got a lot of upgrades that have come base in MWO anyway, so it's a bit cheaper in that respect because you don't have to worry about doing any of those kind of upgrades. But it does have that one right arm that really does make it a bit of a difficult sell. I actually think this would probably be the least popular, despite the fact that you do have all those energy hardpoints, and you probably could build with a ton of small pulse lasers or something. They could just that DPS fire rate where you can just quickly burn down a target. But it's probably not worth it compared to just, well, a lot of other mechs that also boat a shitload of energy hardpoints. It's okay. Overall, if I had to do a quick review, it's not great. You lose your arm, you're out of the fight. It doesn't matter how much armor you've got left after that, unless it's maybe Conquest or Assault, and you just run for the base if you can, without being spotted. It has all the usual Hatchetman benefits in the sense that its side torsos aren't that easily hit. It does spread damage quite well for its tonnage. It's got okay speed. Obviously, it's a little maneuverable. It's got jump jets and the like, but it just lacks so many other things that the other variants bring to the table. It's not like the Curitan model that has the missile hardpoints, or the ballistics, or the other two, like the 6 Delta or the standard 3F, that have the high-mounted ballistics hardpoint, for instance. This is just, I guess it's like the Mini Crusader that boats a load of energy weapons in one arm, and it's great. And on the table, it would be great because, you know, your right arm, you can fire a bunch of weapons, probably keep yourself relatively cool, and then if you're in melee combat, you can smack them with a hatchet. So there was still the benefit. If your arm got blown off, it's okay, you can jump in and start smacking an opponent to death with that. Not the case here, and yeah, for that reason, it's not something that I could easily recommend. The rounds, yeah, this is a weird one. HPG has become a weird map of recent. There's a lot of fights that start up top. I've been noticing more and more, and obviously this will be dated for anyone watching it further down the line, because tactics always change, but at the time that I recorded this, there's been more and more cases where assault mechs just start running around on the top of the walls of HPG, and that's just really bizarre. Like, why is a walking fridge like a direwolf or a Masakari going all the way up there? It doesn't make sense. They're huge targets. There's tons of Gauss snipers and PPC snipers out there and laser snipers. They're going to see you. You're a giant block of metal on legs walking around. But people keep doing it for some reason in this map. I don't know why. And usually most rounds I discover it starts off with half the team going into the middle, members of the team milling around outside, and then some people who decide that they're going to be Super Ninja Navy SEALs and hanging around on the top walls, and then it all goes underground. Everyone just runs underground at the end. It's very strange. It's like a weird 3-tier system for HBG these days, or the skate park as some people take to call it, because it's a weird looking HBG manifold, that's for sure. But yeah, you get weird stuff like this where people just end up running off in different directions. Obviously, I didn't do too bad in this because somehow my arm stays intact. All the armor's been stripped off at this point, and my sight also is very flimsy. It's ready to pop any second. But people don't seem to be prioritising me, maybe because they just see it's a Hatchetman, they're not that threatened. In stock, its punch is still there. Being able to fire so many lasers in rapid succession means you can just keep up a constant DPS, and your heat doesn't go too high. So your rate of fire can be quite constant. It's quite nice. I guess depending on what the flavour of the month patch notes are, whether this weapon, X energy weapon is now really good, or this energy weapon is really good. I mean, at one point this probably would have been a good mech for the snub-nose PPC builds that were running around, being able to have that right arm that you can use just to smack people with a lot of damage quite quickly.
Target destroyed.
I guess it could also work as a sniper, potentially, being able to equip a couple of like long-range weapons like that. Oh yeah, this is near the end of it, yeah. Yeah, this is where I think it's a pair of direwolves. I can't remember. One of them is an assault mech. I don't remember. Somehow I survived this. Don't know how. Just do. My arm is still intact. Don't know how that happened. I guess people just aren't familiar. I think once this is more commonplace and people start to realise, oh, if you see a 7R, shoot the arm. And as soon as you shoot the arm without the hatchet in it, that's it. The mech is effectively out of the fight. I think this will be a very rare sight in MWO. I think very few people will bother picking this mech up. It certainly wasn't a mech that was worth the cash. I'd say that much. I've said it in lots of the other videos. It's not a pack worth your hard-earned cash. It really isn't, unfortunately. It's a cool mech. I always had a soft spot for the Hatchetman, but it's not must-buy material. C-builds, there are definitely a few variants out there that I would recommend just having a go because it's a fun mech, it's a different one. But yeah, the main selling point, the melee stuff, it isn't there. It's been said every video, but just to reiterate, because there's always people who post comments underneath this are like, don't see the point in the mech because there's no melee. I completely agree with you. If that's your reason you don't want to pick it up, it makes perfect sense. Let's face it, it was added because HBS Battletech made the Hatchetman, and that game had hand-to-hand combat, and it sort of migrated over because of the whole asset crossover dealie that the two companies had between PGI and HBS. So the Hatchetman made its way over there, and the Crusader. I guess the Crusader may have eventually been ported over to HBS Battletech had the Crusader come out a bit earlier, I suspect. So yeah, it's a shame we'll never actually get an official kind of Crusader model, because I'm starting to like the one that PGI made, so it's not too bad. So anyway, match is wrapping up. Somehow I survived, and only one cat meow the whole time. So bro, well, one cat meow and one fake one from the bro. So what do you mean what? Yeah, exactly. But he's got a very comfy cat on him, so that's the main thing. So she was happy. Yeah, but that wraps up the Hatchetman and all the variants that are currently in the game. There's not even really any variants that I can use to use existing variants to make other ones, because they're usually just a variation on themes, slight changes here and there. Nothing really separate, which is why I think the 7R was just added, because when you look at the rest of the variants available, there really isn't much else to choose from that isn't just it. Oh, it has an LB10. We already have one with an LB10. Oh, it's got a rotary cannon. That one's a rotary, so it's not that much of a change. No one went crazy with it. Like, you didn't get like Lyran scientists trying to make a version that carried a heavy Gauss rifle or something stupid like that. So yeah, but the future, well, if rumours are to be believed, there is going to be a new clan mech coming. Rumours is it's going to be the Stone Rhino, from what I've heard. So could be more chassis variant videos in the future. But MechWarrior Online videos should be the resumption of a series featuring McCracken and Hodge, coming in the near future, or at least one episode of it, because we got all the stuff recorded and all that. So yeah, that's hopefully for the 5 people who like that, they'll be happy, and everyone else will just be like, oh, spoil that shit. So yeah, thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks for watching. Have a good day, and I'll catch you next time. And yeah, goodbye.